Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the main screen when his communications officer suddenly went pale. "Sir, you need to see this," Lieutenant Commander Kate Sullivan said with a shaky voice. Jake walked over to her station and looked at the readings that made no sense at first, then slowly became clear, and terrifying massive ships had appeared above Earth without warning, and they were bigger than anything humans had ever built. The alien vessels hung in space like dark mountains blocking out the sun over major cities across the planet. Jake ordered his crew to change course immediately and head back to Earth at maximum speed, but he knew they were still 3 days away from home. Admiral Lisa Carter appeared on the main screen from Earth Defense Command, looking tired and worried. "All fleet captains, listen carefully," she said. "We have first contact, and it is not peaceful." The aliens had sent a message to every communication device on Earth and in the colony's Supreme Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian hegemony spoke in perfect English with a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Humans of Earth, you have been found and judged." The alien commander said, "Your species shows signs of expansion beyond your home system, which threatens the order we have maintained for centuries." Jake felt his stomach drop as he listened to the recording. "You have 72 hours to surrender completely," Vextar continued. "Submit to slavery under our rule or face total extinction." The message showed images of 17 different worlds that had been conquered by the Zephyrians, and the fate of species that had resisted. Some planets were nothing but burning rocks, while others showed populations working in massive mining operations under alien guards. Colonel Ryan Phillips from Mars Defense Command joined the emergency meeting, and his face showed the same fear everyone felt. "They destroyed our orbital platforms in seconds," Ryan reported. "Their weapons cut through our shields like they were made of paper." Dr. Alex Turner had been studying the alien ships from his laboratory, and his findings were not encouraging. "Their technology is at least 200 years ahead of ours," Alex said. "Their energy output alone suggests they could destroy our entire planet without much effort." President Maria Santos called an emergency session of the United Nations where representatives from every nation gathered in the underground bunker beneath New York. "We will never kneel to alien oppressors," she declared, but Jake could see the doubt in her eyes. The 3 human colonies were also preparing for the worst. Governor Jack Harrison from New Eden Colony sent word that they were going dark to avoid detection, while Administrator Beth Williams at Haven Colony began evacuating civilians to hidden shelters. General Peter Hayes mobilized every military unit on Earth, knowing that conventional weapons would be useless against the alien technology. Jake arrived at Earth just as the 72-hour deadline was approaching, and he could see the massive alien ships hanging over every major city like storm clouds. The Zephyrian fleet consisted of hundreds of vessels, each one the size of a small city, with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Captain Chris Evans led evacuation efforts from the burning remains of orbital stations, while Lieutenant Amy Foster coordinated refugee movements through underground tunnels that had been built during the old nuclear war preparations. Dr. Sophie Martinez worked frantically in her laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, trying to understand how the alien weapons worked. Engineer Billy Thompson helped her modify human plasma weapons, hoping they could find some weakness in the alien defenses. The aliens demonstrated their power by destroying 3 more unmanned platforms, choosing targets that would show their capabilities without killing too many humans. Yet Supreme Commander Vextar appeared on every screen across Earth for the final ultimatum. "Your time has ended, humans," he said. "Surrender now or watch your cities burn." President Santos stood before the cameras in the underground command center with Admiral Carter and General Hayes beside her. "We are humans," she said simply. "We do not surrender." The first alien weapons fired down from orbit, striking military bases across 6 continents. Jake watched from the bridge of his ship as beams of pure energy carved through mountains and turned forests into glass. The bombardment lasted for 6 hours, destroying every major military installation and leaving millions dead. But when the smoke cleared, humans were still fighting. General Carlos Rivera had implemented scorched earth tactics, destroying infrastructure before the aliens could capture it. If we cannot keep it, they cannot have it, Rivera told his troops as they demolished bridges and power plants. The aliens had expected humanity to surrender after the first demonstration of their power. They had conquered 17 civilizations, using the same strategy of overwhelming force followed by quick submission, but humans were different. Every destroyed city became a fortress, and every dead soldier was replaced by 10 angry civilians with improvised weapons. Supreme Commander Vextar stood in his command chamber looking down at the burning planet with confusion. In 3 centuries of conquest, no species had continued fighting after their military was destroyed. The Zephyrians had weapons that could crack planets and ships that moved faster than light, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to accept defeat. Jake Morrison gathered his surviving crew and prepared for a war that would test everything humans thought they knew about themselves. The aliens had come for war expecting an easy victory, but they were about to learn that humans had their own ideas about how war should end. Commander Tony Rodriguez crouched in the wreckage of what used to be Earth's largest orbital station, watching alien patrol ships move through the debris field like sharks hunting for survivors. Zephyrians had been bombing Earth for 3 weeks now, and every major city was either burning or reduced to rubble, but humans kept fighting back. Tony had learned to hide military equipment inside civilian cargo haulers, making them look like helpless refugee ships until they got close enough to strike. His latest plan involved using an old mining vessel loaded with plasma charges to ram into the alien command ship. The aliens never expected attacks from vessels that appeared to be fleeing. Dr. Sophie Martinez worked 18-hour days in her underground laboratory trying to understand how alien technology functioned. She had discovered that Zephyrian energy shields operated on a specific frequency that human plasma weapons might be able to disrupt if they could modify the power output correctly. Engineer Billy Thompson helped her rebuild weapon systems using parts salvaged from destroyed military bases. They had to work by candlelight most of the time because the aliens tracked electrical signatures and bombed anything that showed too much power usage. Captain Chris Evans led convoy after convoy of civilian transports through the burning streets of major cities, rescuing survivors and moving them to safer locations. Aliens seemed confused by human rescue operations and often let medical vehicles pass without attacking. Chris realized that the Zephyrians did not understand why humans would risk their lives to save strangers. Lieutenant Amy Foster had mapped every subway tunnel, sewer system, and natural cave network within 500 miles of the major population centers. Her underground railroad moved millions of people to safety using routes that alien sensors could not detect. Zephyrians had advanced technology, but they did not understand how humans could disappear into their own planet. General Carlos Rivera refused to let the aliens capture anything useful, implementing a policy of total destruction. His troops burned factories, demolished bridges, and destroyed communication networks before retreating to new positions. The aliens grew frustrated as they conquered empty ruins instead of functioning infrastructure. Every Zephyrian victory felt hollow because there was nothing left to claim. Supreme Commander Vextar studied reports from his ground commanders with growing irritation. His species had conquered 17 worlds using the same strategy of overwhelming force followed by quick occupation, but humans were not following the expected pattern of behavior. Most species surrendered when their military was destroyed and the cities were bombed. Humans just moved underground and kept fighting. Governor Jack Harrison sent encrypted messages from New Eden Colony reporting that they had successfully hidden their entire population in natural cave systems. The aliens had not yet discovered the outer colonies, which gave humanity additional resources and safe bases for planning. Counterattacks Administrator Beth Williams from Haven Colony had converted mining equipment into weapons and was training civilian volunteers for guerrilla warfare. The isolation that once made colonies vulnerable now provided security as hidden bases. Beyond alien detection range, Dr. Andy Lewis worked in a secret laboratory in the Australian outback, developing biological weapons specifically designed to target Zephyrian physiology. His research showed that alien immune systems were designed for sterile space environments and could not handle Earth's diverse bacterial life. Andy created several strains of modified bacteria that would be harmless to humans but deadly to Zephyrians. Captain Helena Price established communication networks between resistance cells using codes based on human cultural references that aliens could not understand. Her background in cryptography proved invaluable as she developed systems that allowed coordination between widely separated groups. Aliens could intercept human transmissions, but they could not decode messages that relied on knowledge of human history, literature, and music. Engineer Lavra Davis managed underground factories that operated in abandoned mines and natural caverns. Powered by geothermal energy sources, these facilities produced weapons, ammunition, and equipment specifically designed for fighting aliens. The Zephyrians could not detect geothermal signatures, which meant human production continued even under orbital bombardment. Major Eddie Clark led tunnel fighters beneath New York, using subway systems and natural caves to wage war against alien ground forces. His team specialized in hit-and-run attacks that targeted alien supply lines and communication equipment. Zephyrians found themselves fighting an enemy they could not see in terrain they did not understand. Sergeant Nicole Barnes developed improvised explosives using common household chemicals that could damage alien equipment. Discoveries showed that Zephyrian technology failed when exposed to certain combinations of Earth materials. Nicole trained hundreds of volunteers to build and deploy these weapons, turning every human settlement into a potential military base. The siege continued for months, with aliens controlling the surface while humans fought from below. Zephyrian casualties mounted as they learned that conquering a planet and controlling it were very different challenges. Supreme Commander Vextar requested additional fleets from the hegemony, admitting for the first time that the conquest was taking longer than expected. Superiors were not pleased to hear that a primitive species was causing problems. Captain Jake Morrison returned from a supply run to the outer colonies with news that changed everything. His crew had captured a damaged Zephyrian scout ship that had been disabled by one of Nicole's improvised explosives. The vessel contained intact technology and more importantly, a live alien prisoner who could provide intelligence about enemy capabilities and weaknesses. Dr. Alex Turner began studying the captured alien while Sophie Martinez examined the ship's technology. They discovered that Zephyrians were not as advanced as they appeared, and their empire was showing signs of strain from centuries of constant warfare. Aliens had superior weapons and ships, but they had not evolved tactically in hundreds of years because no species had provided significant resistance. Admiral Lisa Carter coordinated the first major human counterattack using information gained from the captured scout ship. Her plan involved simultaneous strikes on alien ground positions using the underground tunnel networks that Amy Foster had mapped. The attack succeeded beyond all expectations, destroying 3 alien command posts and capturing additional equipment. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had achieved a tactical victory against their oppressors. The success proved that alien technology could be overcome by human creativity and determination. Supreme Commander Vextar realized that his conquest of Earth would require a completely different approach. Humans were unlike any species the hegemony had encountered, and their refusal to surrender was forcing changes in Zephyrian military doctrine. The siege had become a war of attrition that the aliens were not prepared to fight. Jake Morrison stood in the command center, looking at battle reports that showed human resistance growing stronger each day. The aliens had come expecting a quick victory, but instead found themselves trapped in an endless conflict with an enemy that grew more dangerous with each passing week. 6 months after the first alien ships appeared above Earth, the surface of the planet looked like a wasteland, but beneath the ruins, humanity was growing stronger every day. Major Eddie Clark crawled through a maintenance tunnel beneath what used to be Manhattan. Following the sound of alien machinery, his team of tunnel fighters had learned to move through the subway system like ghosts, using abandoned stations as bases for their operations. The Zephyrians controlled the surface, but they had no understanding of the vast network of tunnels, sewers, and natural caves that humans used to move unseen. Eddie reached a ventilation grate and peered up at an alien supply depot where strange vehicles unloaded equipment for the occupation forces. He counted 12 guards and noted their patrol patterns while his demolitions expert prepared the charges they would plant. The aliens had superior technology, but they followed predictable routines that made them vulnerable to surprise attacks. Sergeant Nicole Barnes had become famous throughout the Resistance for her ability to create weapons from ordinary materials. She worked in a hidden laboratory beneath the ruins of Chicago, developing new ways to disrupt alien equipment. Her latest discovery involved mixing common cleaning chemicals with metal filings to create a compound that corroded Zephyrian armor. Nicole trained volunteers across dozens of resistance cells, showing them how to build these weapons using materials that could be found anywhere. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could turn household items into military equipment. Dr. Andy Lewis made his greatest breakthrough while studying samples of alien blood obtained from wounded Zephyrians working in his secret laboratory. In the Australian outback, he discovered that alien immune systems could not handle certain Earth bacteria. Andy developed several biological weapons that would be harmless to humans but deadly to any Zephyrian who breathed them. The aliens had evolved in sterile space environments, and their advanced medical technology could not cope with Earth's natural biological diversity. Captain Helena Price coordinated between resistance cells using a communication network that baffled alien intelligence services. Her codes were based on references to human movies, books, and music that made perfect sense to any human but were incomprehensible to aliens. Helena could organize simultaneous attacks across multiple continents using messages that sounded like casual conversations about entertainment. The Zephyrians intercepted thousands of human transmissions but could not decode the cultural references that carried the real information. Haven colony revealed itself when Governor Beth Williams launched a surprise attack on a Zephyrian research vessel that had wandered too close to their hidden base. Her forces used modified mining equipment to disable the alien ship and capture its crew. Success proved that human colonies could strike back against their oppressors and provided valuable intelligence about alien research projects. Frank Miller led the tactical team that boarded the alien vessel and discovered that the Zephyrians were studying human psychology, trying to understand why their conquest had failed. The aliens could not comprehend a species that refused to surrender, even when facing certain defeat. Engineer Lavra Davis expanded her underground manufacturing network to include dozens of hidden factories operating in mines and caves across the planet. These facilities produced weapons and equipment designed specifically for fighting aliens using knowledge gained from captured technology. Factories were powered by geothermal energy that alien sensors could not detect, making them virtually invisible to orbital surveillance. Laura's teams reverse-engineered Zephyrian power systems and incorporated them into human weapons, creating hybrid devices that combine the best of both technologies. Lieutenant Commander Steve Johnson led the technical analysis team that studied every piece of alien equipment The Resistance could capture his work revealed that Zephyrian technology was impressive, but not magical and could be understood and copied by human. Engineer Steve discovered that the aliens relied heavily on automated systems that could be disrupted by introducing random variables. Human creativity and unpredictability were proving to be effective weapons against alien precision and order. The Resistance achieved its greatest victory when Captain Chris Evans led a coordinated assault on the main Zephyrian command center in the ruins of London. His team used the tunnel networks to approach unseen, while surface teams created diversions to draw alien attention away from the real target. The attack succeeded in capturing crucial intelligence about alien military structure and revealed a shocking truth: humanity was the first species in over 3 centuries to survive the initial Zephyrian assault. Every other civilization had surrendered within weeks of first contact. Supreme Commander Vextar studied reports from his ground commanders with growing concern. Humans were not behaving like any conquered species in Zephyrian history. Instead of becoming weaker over time, they were becoming more organized and more dangerous. His troops reported increasing casualties and equipment losses, while human attacks grew more sophisticated and coordinated. Hegemony had never faced an enemy that learned and adapted this quickly. Dr. Sophie Martinez achieved a major breakthrough when she successfully combined human plasma technology with captured alien power systems. Hybrid weapons could penetrate Zephyrian armor and shields, giving human infantry their first effective weapons against alien soldiers. Sophie's discovery spread through the Resistance network, allowing fighters across the planet to strike back against their oppressors. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that could actually hurt them for the first time since the invasion began. Commander Tony Rodriguez led the first successful capture of an intact Zephyrian command vessel using a combination of electronic warfare and boarding tactics. His team used Andy's biological weapons to disable the alien crew, while Steve's technical specialist took control of the ship's systems. Captured vessel provided detailed information about Zephyrian fleet positions and military capabilities. Tony discovered that the alien empire was much larger than humans had realized, but also showed signs of strain from centuries of constant expansion. Admiral Lisa Carter used intelligence from the captured ship to plan humanity's first major counteroffensive. Her strategy involved simultaneous strikes on alien positions across multiple continents, using coordination that the aliens thought was impossible. Offensive succeeded beyond all expectations, liberating several major population centers and proving that humans could achieve strategic victories. The aliens were forced to withdraw from positions they had held for months as human forces demonstrated new levels of coordination and effectiveness. Jake Morrison stood in the command center of the captured alien vessel, studying star charts that showed the true extent of the Zephyrian hegemony. The Empire controlled hundreds of star systems and had enslaved dozens of intelligent species. But the reports also showed something else that gave him hope. Several subject worlds were experiencing uprisings and rebellion as news of human resistance spread through the alien communication networks. Other species were learning that the Zephyrians could be fought and defeated. The Underground War had transformed humanity from victims into teachers, showing the galaxy that freedom was possible. Jake realized that the conflict had evolved beyond a simple invasion. Humanity was now leading a galactic revolution against an empire that had ruled through fear for centuries. The aliens had come for war, but humans were finishing it by proving that tyranny could be overthrown by courage and determination. Lieutenant Commander Steve Johnson stood inside the captured Zephyrian command vessel, surrounded by alien technology that his team was slowly learning to understand. Ship's computer systems contained detailed records of hegemony military operations spanning 3 centuries, and the information was both encouraging and terrifying. Steve discovered that the Zephyrians had conquered 17 star systems, Using identical tactics each time, their military doctrine had not evolved because no species had ever provided significant resistance. The aliens were powerful, but they had become lazy and predictable after centuries of easy victories. Dr. Rachel Stone worked alongside Steve analyzing the alien power systems and weapons technology. Her breakthrough came when she realized that human engineering principles could be combined with Zephyrian energy sources to create hybrid weapons. Rachel's new designs were more versatile than pure alien technology because they incorporated human creativity and adaptability. The weapons could be manufactured using captured alien components and materials readily available on Earth. Admiral Lisa Carter received the first batch of hybrid weapons and immediately began planning Operation Midnight Sun. Her strategy involved using modified civilian spacecraft equipped with the new weapons to strike at alien positions. The plan relied on human unpredictability. To overcome alien tactical superiority, Captain Greg Miller volunteered to lead the first squadron of converted mining vessels in the dangerous assault. His ships looked like harmless cargo haulers but carried enough firepower to threaten even the largest Zephyrian warships. Greg had trained his crews to use unconventional tactics that would confuse alien targeting systems. The mining vessels could separate into multiple components, making them nearly impossible to track effectively. Operation Midnight Sun launched at dawn with 12 converted civilian ships approaching the main Zephyrian fleet. Aliens detected the approaching vessels, but dismissed them as refugee ships trying to escape the planet. Greg waited until his squadron was within weapons range before revealing their true nature. The surprise attack succeeded beyond all expectations, destroying 3 alien cruisers and damaging the command ship. The victory proved that human ingenuity could overcome superior alien technology when combined with tactical surprise. General Peter Hayes studied the success of Operation Midnight Sun and developed a new strategic doctrine based on swarm tactics. Instead of building large, expensive warships, humans would use hundreds of small, fast vessels that could overwhelm alien defenses through sheer numbers. Commander Tina Brown led the first wing of modified interceptors designed according to Hayes' specifications. Her ships were too small and fast for Zephyrian targeting systems to track effectively. Tina's pilots used formation flying techniques adapted from bird flocks to confuse alien sensors. The interceptor wing achieved a kill ratio of 10-1 against alien fighters during their first engagement. Director Paul Wright had established secret shipyards in the asteroid belt using facilities hidden inside hollowed-out rocks. His teams worked around the clock building the new generation of human warships designed specifically for fighting the hegemony. Isolation that had once made asteroid mining dangerous now provided perfect security for military production. Paul's shipyards produced vessels that looked nothing like traditional human designs. The new ships incorporated lessons learned from 18 months of warfare against technologically superior enemies. Dr. Jennifer Brooks made an unexpected discovery while studying captured Zephyrian personnel. Aliens experienced fear and uncertainty differently than humans, and their psychological responses could be exploited. Jennifer developed information warfare tactics that targeted alien mental weaknesses. Her team created false intelligence designed to make the Zephyrians doubt their own capabilities and question their mission. Psychological attacks were more effective than conventional weapons because they attacked alien confidence rather than their technology. Colonel Nancy Reed led the liberation of Luna Base, using a combination of the new hybrid weapons and psychological warfare techniques. Her assault force approached the moon using ships that broadcast fake distress signals to confuse alien defenders. The psychological component involved spreading rumors that human forces had developed planet-killing weapons. Aliens evacuated their strongest positions rather than face weapons that existed only in their imagination. The liberation of Luna Base provided humanity with its first major strategic victory and a secure base for launching operations. Against alien-held territory, Jake Morrison was promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of humanity's growing space navy. His first assignment was to plan an offensive against alien positions in the outer solar system. Jake realized that the war had fundamentally changed from a desperate defense of Earth to an active campaign of liberation. Human forces were now capable of striking at alien targets anywhere in the solar system. The captured alien intelligence revealed that several species within the hegemony were ready to rebel if they received support. Agent Dorothy King worked undercover among captured Zephyrian personnel, gathering information about potential allies. She established contact with members of the Krolek species who had been enslaved by the Zephyrians. 50 years earlier, the Kroleks possessed detailed knowledge of alien military capabilities and were eager to strike back against their oppressors. Dr. Alex Turner facilitated formal diplomatic contact between humanity and 3 different enslaved species. Each species offered unique capabilities that could strengthen the growing coalition against Zephyrian rule. The Kroleks were expert engineers who understood alien technology better than their masters. Vorthon were natural pilots whose reflexes surpassed even the best human aviators. Nexari possessed psychic abilities that could disrupt alien communication networks. Admiral Carter addressed the first interspecies alliance meeting in the liberated Luna Base. Representatives from 4 different worlds gathered to plan the complete overthrow of the Zephyrian hegemony. Carter declared humanity's intention to liberate every world under alien control. The alliance would combine the resources and capabilities of multiple species to achieve what none could accomplish alone. Supreme Commander Vextar received reports of the growing rebellion with increasing alarm. His empire was facing simultaneous uprisings on 6 different worlds while human forces continued to gain strength. Hegemony's military was designed for conquest, not for fighting prolonged rebellions. Vextar requested additional fleets from the core worlds, but his superiors were becoming impatient with his failure to complete the conquest of Earth. High Command had expected the human war to end within months, but it had now lasted 2 years and was spreading to other parts of the Empire. Captain Tony Rodriguez led a raid on an alien supply convoy using intelligence provided by Krolek's rebels. His mixed human and alien crew demonstrated the effectiveness of interspecies cooperation. The raid captured enough alien technology to equip 12 more resistance cells. Tony realized that the coalition was becoming stronger than the sum of its parts as each species contributed unique strengths. Fleet Admiral Morrison prepared for humanity's first interstellar offensive, knowing that the war was entering its final phase. The target would be the Zephyrian forward base, and the Wolf 359 system success would give the coalition a permanent foothold outside the solar system. Morrison understood that humanity had evolved from defenders to liberators. The species that had been victims were now leading a galactic revolution. The aliens had underestimated human determination and creativity, but their greatest mistake was not realizing that freedom was contagious. Every victory against the hegemony inspired other enslaved species to believe that liberation was possible. The tide had turned and humanity was ready to take the war to the enemy. 2 years after the first Zephyrian ships appeared above Earth Fleet, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Victory, watching a fleet that would have been impossible to imagine when the war began. The coalition armada contained vessels from 6 different species, each contributing unique technologies and capabilities to the largest military operation in galactic history. Jake's flagship incorporated design elements from human engineering, Krolek's power systems, Vorthon navigation technology, and Nexari communication arrays. The ship represented everything the coalition had learned about combining different approaches to create something stronger than any single species could build. Chief designer Kelly Parker had created vessels that would be unrecognizable to anyone familiar with pre-war human ships. Her designs blended captured alien technology with human creativity, resulting in craft that were both more versatile and more unpredictable than anything the Zephyrians had. Faith Kelly's greatest achievement was developing modular ship components that could be reconfigured during battle. New vessels could adapt their structure and capabilities. Based on tactical requirements, Captain Gary Thompson commanded the assault group assigned to neutralize the Wolf 359 system's orbital defenses. His crew included veterans from the Earth siege who had learned to think like their enemies while maintaining human unpredictability. Navigation officer Linda Cox had mastered alien faster-than-light technology, allowing coalition fleets to appear where the hegemony least expected them. Linda's innovations in jump calculations gave human forces the ability to strike multiple targets simultaneously. The Wolf 359 operation would test every lesson humanity had learned about fighting technologically superior enemies' intelligence. Our EPORTS indicated that the system contained the largest Zephyrian military base outside their core territory. Colonel Janet Moore prepared her ground forces for the most ambitious planetary assault in human history. Her troops included Marines from Earth, Krolex engineers, Vorthan pilots, and Nexari psychic warfare specialists. Janet had developed combined arms tactics that used each species' strengths to overcome their individual weaknesses. The diversity of the coalition force made it nearly impossible for Zephyrian commanders to predict their next move. Commander Scott Lewis led the space superiority fighters that would clear the way for the main invasion forces. Pilots flew ships that incorporated the best aspects of human Krolex and Vorthan aerospace technology. Scott's squadrons used formation tactics that confused alien targeting systems while delivering devastating firepower. The fighters could operate independently or combine into larger formations depending on tactical requirements. Agent Dorothy King had established contact with Krolex resistance cells operating inside the Wolf 359 system. Her intelligence network provided detailed information about Zephyrian defensive positions and patrol schedules. Dorothy's reports revealed that alien morale was declining as news of coalition victories spread through their communication networks. Many Zephyrian officers were beginning to question whether their empire could win a war against an enemy that refused to surrender. Dr. Rachel Stone had developed new weapons specifically designed for the Wolf 359 assault. Her hybrid technology combined alien power sources with human tactical flexibility. Rachel's weapons could adapt their output and configuration based on the target they were engaging. The coalition forces carried equipment that could function effectively against any known Zephyrian defensive system. The jump to Wolf 359 was completed perfectly, with the entire coalition fleet arriving simultaneously at multiple points around the system. Jake Morrison coordinated the complex operation from his command center, while his tactical officers managed individual battle groups. The Zephyrians detected the incoming fleet, but their response was confused and uncoordinated. Alien commanders had never faced an attack by multiple species working together. Captain Thompson's assault group engaged the orbital defense platforms, using tactics that combined human aggression with Krolex precision engineering. The platforms were designed to handle attacks by single species. Using predictable approaches, Thompson's mixed force attacked from directions and using methods that the alien defensive programming could not counter. Colonel Moore's ground assault began with Nexari psychic warfare specialists disrupting alien communication networks. The psychological attack created confusion among Zephyrian ground forces who lost contact with their command structure. Moore's Marines used the confusion to establish landing zones, while Krolex engineers disabled alien automated defenses. The combination of different species capabilities proved devastating to Zephyrian resistance. Commander Lewis's fighter squadrons achieved complete air superiority within 6 hours of the initial assault. His pilots used Vorthan reflexes and human tactical thinking to outmaneuver alien interceptors. The space battle demonstrated that coalition forces could defeat Zephyrian technology through superior coordination and adaptability. Lewis realized that the aliens had become dependent on their technological advantages and were helpless when that advantage was neutralized. The Vol 359 operation succeeded beyond all expectations, with coalition forces capturing the entire system within 12 hours. Jake Morrison established the first permanent coalition base outside the solar system. The victory provided strategic depth and proved that the hegemony could be defeated anywhere. Intelligence captured from Vol 359 revealed the true scope of the Zephyrian Empire and its growing internal problems. Dr. Alex Turner analyzed alien computer records and discovered that 17 different species were on the verge of rebellion. The hegemony's control was maintained through fear and superior technology, but both were failing as coalition victories demonstrated that resistance was possible. Turner established formal diplomatic contact with rebel groups on 8 different worlds. Each species offered to join the PHI coalition in exchange for support against their Zephyrian oppressors. Fleet Admiral Morrison realized that the war had evolved into something far larger than the defense of Earth. Humanity was now leading a galactic liberation movement that threatened the foundations of the hegemony. The coalition represented something unprecedented in galactic history. Multiple species were working together as equals rather than as conquerors, and subjects. Admiral Lisa Carter coordinated the expansion of coalition forces as new species joined the alliance. Her staff included officers from 12 different worlds working together to plan the complete overthrow of Zephyrian rule. Carter's greatest challenge was integrating different military traditions and technologies into a unified fighting force. Solution came from recognizing that diversity was a strength rather than a weakness. General Peter Hayes established training facilities where coalition forces learned to work together. His programs emphasized cooperation and mutual respect between different species. Hayes discovered that mixed units performed better than homogeneous forces because they could adapt to unexpected situations. Variety of perspectives and capabilities made coalition forces nearly impossible to predict or counter. Captain Greg Miller led a series of raids against Zephyrian supply lines using the new coalition tactics. His mixed crews struck at targets throughout the outer territories, disrupting alien logistics and communications. Miller's success demonstrated that the coalition could operate effectively across vast distances. The hegemony found itself fighting on multiple fronts against an enemy that grew stronger with each victory. Supreme Commander Vextar faced the collapse of his entire strategic position as more species joined the rebellion. His requests for reinforcements were denied as the High Command dealt with uprisings in their core territory. Vextar realized that the Zephyrians had created their own downfall by ruling through oppression rather than cooperation. Empire that had seemed invincible was crumbling from within as its subject peoples demanded freedom. Jake Morrison prepared for the final phase of the war, knowing that victory was within reach. Coalition had grown from a desperate alliance into the dominant military force in the galaxy. Humanity had evolved from victims to liberators, leading a revolution that would reshape galactic civilization. The aliens had come for war expecting easy conquest, but instead found themselves facing the end of their empire. 3 years after Supreme Commander Vextar first appeared on Earth's communication networks, Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison led the largest military force in galactic history toward the Zephyrian home system. The coalition armada contained vessels from 23 different species, each contributing their unique strengths to the final assault against the hegemony's capital world. Jake stood on the bridge of the massive U's Liberation, watching thousands of ships move in perfect formation through the darkness of space. The teeth Fleet represented everything humanity had learned about cooperation and mutual respect between different species. Captain Gary Thompson commanded the UES Victory, leading the primary assault wave toward Zephyr Prime. His tactical officer, Commander Susan Brown, coordinated with alien allies whose thinking patterns complemented human strategic planning. Susan had learned to combine human creativity with Krolek's logical analysis and Vorthan intuitive navigation. The result was tactical planning that no single species could have achieved alone. Zephyr Prime hung in space, surrounded by defensive installations that had never been breached in 5 centuries of hegemony rule. Supreme Commander Vextar had consolidated the remaining Empire forces into an impregnable fortress around their homeworld. Planetary shields and automated defense networks represented the pinnacle of Zephyrian military technology. Vextar believed that his defenses could withstand any assault and forced the coalition to accept a negotiated peace. General Peter Hayes commanded ground forces that included Marines from dozens of different worlds. His army represented the ultimate expression of interspecies cooperation, with each group contributing specialized skills learned through centuries of experience. Hayes had developed assault tactics that used the diversity of coalition forces as a tactical advantage. Variety of different approaches made it impossible for Zephyrian defenders to predict the next attack. Operation Liberation began with Nexari psychic warfare specialists disrupting alien communication networks across the entire system. Psychological assault created confusion among Zephyrian defenders who lost contact with their command structure. Dr. Jennifer Brooks had developed information warfare techniques that exploited alien mental weaknesses. Her team broadcast false intelligence that made the Zephyrians doubt their own defensive capabilities. Captain Chris Evans led the infiltration force that would plant Dr. Sophie Martinez's computer virus in the planetary defense grid. The virus was designed specifically to target Zephyrian artificial intelligence systems. Sophie had spent months studying captured alien computers to understand how their programming functioned. Her code would turn the planetary defenses against their creators, opening a path for the Coalition fleet agent Patricia Walker led the team that would upload the virus to the main defense computer. Her group included stealth specialists from 4 different species, each using their natural abilities to avoid detection. Patricia had trained for 2 years to accomplish this single mission. Success of the entire operation depended on her team's ability to reach the central computer without being discovered. Admiral Lisa Carter commanded the space battle from her flagship, coordinating attacks by 12 different battle groups. Her strategy involved simultaneous assaults from multiple directions using the full diversity of coalition capabilities. Carter had learned that the key to defeating superior technology was to attack in ways the enemy could not anticipate. Zephyrians had powerful weapons, but their tactical thinking was limited by centuries of easy victories. Commander Tony Rodriguez led a squadron of stealth ships that approached the planet using captured alien identification codes. His mission was to disable the orbital defense platforms from within using Krolek's engineering expertise. Tony's crews had practiced the assault hundreds of times, using detailed models of Zephyrian defensive installations. Success of the ground invasion depended on his ability to clear a path through the orbital defenses. Patricia Walker's infiltration team reached the central defense computer. After 6 hours of careful movement through the planetary fortress, her team uploaded Sophie's virus into the main system while Zephyrian technicians worked at nearby stations. The virus spread through the defense network within minutes, turning every automated weapon against its Zephyrian operators. The planetary shield collapsed as the computer system began attacking its own generators. Jake Morrison watched from his command center. As the impossible became reality, the defenses that had protected Zephyr Prime for centuries were destroying themselves. Coalition Forces poured through the gaps in the planetary shield as Zephyrian resistance crumbled, the final battle for Galactic freedom had begun. Ground forces landed on Zephyr Prime using tactics that combined the best aspects of 23 different military traditions. General Hayes coordinated the assault while his officers managed units that included species the Zephyrians had enslaved centuries earlier. The symbolic impact was as important as the military victory. Former slaves were liberating their oppressors, demonstrating that freedom could not be permanently suppressed. Supreme Commander Vextar faced Fleet Admiral Morrison in the ruins of the Hegemony Command Center. The two leaders represented completely different philosophies of civilization. Vextar believed in conquest and domination through superior technology. Morrison represented cooperation and mutual respect between different species. The final confrontation was decided not by weapons, but by the collapse of Zephyrian morale. Alien forces surrendered when they realized that their empire had been defeated by the very species they had oppressed. The coalition victory was complete with Zephyr Prime falling after 18 hours of fighting. Jake Morrison stood in the former Hegemony Command Center surrounded by representatives from 23 liberated worlds. The war that had begun with humanity's desperate defense of Earth had ended with the complete liberation of the galaxy. President Maria Santos arrived from Earth to establish the Galactic Council of Free Worlds. Her first act as Galactic President was to formally abolish slavery throughout the former Hegemony territory. The council chambers were built on Earth, recognizing humanity's role in organizing the Galactic Liberation Movement. Representatives from every liberated world gathered to write the Constitution for a new form of galactic government. Grand Admiral Morrison commanded the coalition fleet which would protect the new galactic democracy. His forces patrolled former Hegemony space, ensuring that freedom and cooperation replaced oppression and conquest. Morrison realized that humanity's greatest achievement was not military victory but proving that different species could work together as equals. Galaxy had learned that diversity was a source of strength rather than weakness. Captain Thompson led exploration fleets toward uncharted regions of space. His ships carried representatives from multiple species, spreading the message of freedom and cooperation. Coalition had become a beacon of hope for oppressed peoples throughout the galaxy. Former Zephyrian territories were transformed into democratic societies where different species governed themselves. Dr. Alex Turner established the Galactic University, where beings from different worlds shared knowledge and learned from each other. His institution represented the intellectual foundation of the new galactic civilization. Turner realized that education and understanding between species would prevent future conflicts. The galaxy had learned that cooperation produced better results than conquest. Jake Morrison reflected on humanity's journey from a single system species to leaders of galactic civilization. The war had transformed not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together to build a better future. The Zephyrian hegemony existed only in history books as an example of what happened when technology was used for oppression rather than liberation. Children from dozens of different worlds learned about the importance of freedom and cooperation. Galaxy had been reborn through the sacrifice and determination of beings who refused to accept tyranny. Morrison understood that the greatest victory was not the defeat of the Zephyrians, but the creation of a civilization based on mutual respect. The aliens had come for war expecting easy conquest. Humanity had finished it by proving that freedom and cooperation were stronger than oppression and fear. Galaxy was free and the future belonged to all species working together.